High Park there, and the Humber River that way. And this is Hyde Park, I'm guessing at 1912 by the cars. It's around the beginning of World War I. And this is a map, or a portion of a map of Toronto.
Pretty cool.
From 1907. And I'll pass it around. You'll note the street names are a little different. I think Willard was Herbert, and Murray. Herbert Avenue took a jog, and there was Murray Street, and then Dury, and then Peel, and then Elizabeth. Elizabeth is Runnymede Road. That's out here. And Louisa was St. John's Road. Annette, according to Mrs. Bobby, Annette Street and Jane Street were named after two women who were good friends. The Annette was one of the Bobbies, and the Jane, she thought was Jane White. Jane was a concession road, and Annette was just being opened. The land was given on condition that the streets be named Jane and Annette, so that these two friends would meet forever. And I don't know how accurate that is, but Mrs. Bobby would have no reason to make something like that up, and I think it's absolutely charming. But you can look at this, and you know, it's large enough that I think you can read the names, and where we are is here, and you'll see Bloor Street goes straight and ends sharp at the Humber. It doesn't angle down as it does now. And of course, Jane Street ends at Bloor, but then there's Jane Avenue that swoops through Swansea and makes up part of Riverside Drive. This was before Holmes-Smith had acquired the property. The property that he acquired north of Bloor Street, the Bobby Estate, was sold to the federal government in 1909. The Garrison Common was attached to Fort York and the new fort, which was Stanley Barracks. That was where they did all their rifle training and that. And from the original Garrison Common, where they were shooting off muskets and rifles without a long range, to the rifles that they had developed by 1905. The bullets went too far, and there were people living on Dunn Avenue. Yeah, you get the picture. So they wanted a new location, so they bought a new Garrison Common. They bought the Bobby Estate between Jane and the Humber. And then they sort of realized that there's not that much land there. Maybe they needed something a little bigger, and they bought Long Branch, which was the munitions works and training and rifle ranges that was used up until the Korean War, at least. And they divested themselves quite quickly of the Bobby property, and Holmes-Smith was the acquisitor. According to the City of Toronto, this is minutes from 1923. Provincial highways construction, subway and bridges. The board beg to report that as the result of negotiations and conference with the Honourable F.C. Biggs, Minister of Public Works and Highways, Ontario, a mutual agreement has been reached respecting the width of certain works along the provincial roadway programs close to the limits of the city, which arrangement has been embodied in a communication by the Minister as follows. Biz. Confirming understanding at conference in my office this afternoon relative to a subway situated at the Canadian National Railway tracks on the extension of Danforth Avenue and bridges on Bloor Street at the crossing of the Humber and Yonge Street diversion at York Mills, forming part of the provincial roadway program at the Department of Public Highways. I beg to state that the Department of Public Highways agrees to build the aforesaid subway and bridges at a width of 60 feet in the clear, the respective width of roadway and sidewalks to be the option of the City of Toronto. The whole to form a part of the cost of the work to which the City of Toronto contributes 20%. 20 written in numbers as well. So, the rest of the Bloor Street Bridge came from other sources, mainly the province and the county. Now, this is from the Toronto Star, November 22nd, 1924, page 3. Page 3 is still pretty important. Bloor Bridge opens a western gateway. Formal ceremony marks another link in Great Bloor Danforth Highway. The rain, which came on in true chill November fashion late yesterday afternoon, did not prevent the gathering of a large crowd for the brief ceremony of the opening of the new Bloor Street Bridge across the Humber River. Darkness had fallen so that few of the crowd were enabled to see the structure as it looks from the new roadway. And had it not been for the lights of a throng of motor cars, the whole performance would have taken place in practically pitch darkness. The lighting arrangements for the new structure are not yet completed. Following a very short reference to the beauty and the great usefulness of the bridge, the Honourable George Henry, Minister of Highways, cut the cord which had been stretched across the end of the structure nearest Toronto and declared the bridge officially open for traffic. Before the ceremony began, there was considerable jockeying for place at the front of the double line of cars which were rivaling one another for the first place across the bridge. As he cut the cord, Mr. Henry announced, "I now declare this bridge open for traffic." And I think he leapt. Mr. Henry then, without comment or ceremony, unveiled the tablet which stated the name of the construction company, the records and names of the engineers who have been responsible for the work from time to time of the inception, together with the date of the opening to the public. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Newspaper tells you all that information is on the plaque. It ain't any place else, and the city doesn't have the plaque anymore. At least we haven't been able to find it anyplace else, and I'm assured that the city doesn't have the plaque. We haven't finished. The new bridge will not only be a source of very great convenience in removing a series of bad hills and dangerous curves from one of the chief gateways to the city on its western side, but serves to mark a further step towards the realization of the project of making Bloor Street and Danforth Avenue a continuous part of the great provincial route between Montreal and Windsor. This is the cool little bit. Holmes Smith spoke briefly of the years in which he had dreamed of the developments. Yes. He felt at last that he had not paid taxes in vain for all those years. This is the guy that built and owned the old mill, and a few other, yes. David Spence, MP, and W.J. Guardhouse both predicted that the new structure would become one of the most popular highways in the city, which it did. And this is one of the engineering drawings from 1923. And the cool part is this is the drawing that shows the implantations isn't the right word. The places that they were going to place the posts for trolley wires, because the Bloor streetcar was not supposed to stop at Bloor and Jane. It was supposed to continue across the river. But it being the City of Toronto, TTC served to the city limits, and the city limits where the south side of Bloor at Jane. That was it. And the Dundas car ran to the back of the lots on the west side of Runnymede Road, north of Dundas, again, the city limits. And those of us who live further out, talky wuppy. But I'll pass this around because it shows a small diagram of the bridge itself. I didn't bring the other drawings with me. There were 11 of them, and I didn't think that was of overwhelming interest. Now, the streetcar was replaced by the Bloor subway to Kiel in 1966 and through Jane to Kipling in 1968. Retail on Bloor and Dundas took an absolute nosedive. From being really good shopping, it just went. Alex Ling and the other local merchants in 1970, or by 1970, fought back with the first business improvement area. This was the first business improvement area, not just in Toronto, in the world. This was a new concept of partnership between business and municipality and the province. They believed that they had something that could trump a mall. The foundation of the Bloor West BIA is its local patronage. You guys, us. The destination patronage is cream. The combination of groceries, other retail, cafes, books, restaurants, this is what makes it a vibrant heart for the community. It is local business for local clientele and complements the residential. This is a great area to live in, but if we didn't have the local shopping, I run into people walking along Bloor Street checking it out. They've moved into the lake shore or further north, and they have discovered Bloor Street. Oh, this is wonderful, and they're going to keep coming back. There's some superb public architecture in Bloor West Village. John Lyle's Runnymede Library for one, and the Runnymede Theatre for another. They're both designated. The Humber, that end, has reopened. Yes. And we've always had the Village Playhouse, of course. But landlords and real estate see fast money return. And all the hardware stores are gone. There isn't a hardware store in the area left. That's one of the things that you need in a community. You need a bank, you need a bakery, you need fruit and vegetables, you need meat, you need to be able to buy the day-to-day things like screws and hammers and what have you. So listen to the canary, because the vanishing of some of the businesses that are essential to a community could be a death knell, with absentee landlords particularly. But like I said, the Humber's reopened, so. The residential area developed retaining, I talked about the immediate landscape. Okay, well, that's more or less it. I didn't talk about the housing here because you people all know about that.